We've been there from the beginning, when horse-drawn carriages were more than just a tourist attraction, when thunders from the combustion engine ignited the hearts of a generation, when the sky became our new highway, when the moon and stars were not only within reach, but under our feet. Mobility connects cities. Mobility moves mountains, takes us on adventures, breaks barriers and records. Mobility brings us together and brings us home safely. Movement defines life, and for over a century, SAE International has been there, pushing boundaries, driving the evolution of engineering technologies, and keeping watch as the fearless authority for innovation in automotive, aerospace, and commercial mobility. A global community of over 200,000 engineers, technical experts, and volunteers have built SAE's powerful and growing cohort of shared knowledge, creating the most reliable and comprehensive collection of engineering resources and consensus-based standards on Earth. Mobility is the shared gift and aspiration of all humankind. It is our mission to advance that gift well beyond the limits of possibility, while ensuring the safest, cleanest, and most accessible solutions reach the global marketplace, so you can reach those you care about most.
Welcome everyone to this year's GAMIC, that means Global Automotive and Mobility Innovation Challenge Recap. My name is Fabian Koark. I'm very happy to be your host today, and thank you all for joining. We will welcome the award winners of this year's GAMIC challenge that had its finals at the SAE World Congress, or WCX, in April. And today we are excited to get back to those winners and get an update from what happened to their mobility startup until then and what's their plan for the future. I thank you all for joining us for today's meeting, and I'm very thankful for the invitation by the SAE Detroit Section to invite us to do this joint event that has become already a tradition over the last years. So you will find also the recordings of the last year's recap on the YouTube channel of SAE Detroit. Having that said, a few house cleaning announcements, and please keep yourself muted, keep your camera off. We try to keep this virtual stage to the speakers today. You are all invited to use the chat functions of Zoom to post your questions. So I will do my best to pick up these questions at the appropriate time. And yes, please also be aware that this meeting is recorded. So you will be able, even if you have to leave the event in between, to see the full recording to a later point in time over the YouTube channel of the SAE Detroit Section. So make sure you maybe also sign up for the newsletter so that you will be informed when that recording will be available. I think also a great resource for maybe one or other colleague that was not able to join today, and you can share that recording later on. We will have very interesting speakers today. We will give the chance to 4 different startups. So we will have Claxton speaking as the co-chief executive officer and chief branding officer of Orbis Brakes. We have Damien Despinoy as chief executive officer of Volexion, a technology company in the field of battery technology. We'll hear more about this later. And we're Yuanbo, the founder and CEO of Vultara, out of the field of cybersecurity, so a completely different angle to the industry. And last but not least, Michael Pickholz, the CEO and CTO of MagWerks Vision. As I am the host for this session today, I will also explain a little bit my background. I am serving today as the Chief Operating Officer of SAE Industry Technology Consortia. Means it's a consortia, part of the Society of Automotive Engineers. And what unites me and us with these technology and mobility startups is that we are all looking into the big and small problems of mobility. As SAE ITC, we're trying to tackle these problems globally with administration and with industry partners. And our startups that are presenting today are focusing on, in many ways, a very specific problem in the mobility space, but I think the spirit unites us. And I think also SAE as a whole will always rely on the competence of startups, because we have seen that startups bring a lot to the table. Startups have the capability to deep dive very fast and agile into a problem. And that's why we always did and will also in the future leverage their knowledge and will do our best to integrate the startup community also in our standards committees and in our consortia where it's applicable. That was, I think, to get started, enough from my side. So I want to welcome Jens Claxton from Orbis Brakes on this virtual stage and give us an update on, let's say, her journey and the journey that's maybe behind Orbis Brakes and the journey that's still ahead of us.
Thank you, Fabian. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Since being a winner at GAMIC, we have had a great opportunity to not only get exposure, but as Fabian said, just bring our technology to the forefront. And I'm going to bring that to you today and share what Orbis Brakes has been up to. Orbis Brakes is a technology that is bringing a new way of thinking about the brake industry to the forefront. Today, I'm going to share with you why the vision for brakes and how we know them is going to be rapidly changing. When it comes to market opportunity, we have to point out that there have been relatively few, if any, changes in the mechanical disc brake industry in 68 years. 68 years ago was the inception of mechanical disc braking. Cars have gotten heavier and faster, and EVs are no exception. In this $47 billion industry, there is room for change, and that is what Orbis Brakes is addressing. We at Orbis Brakes have invested the last 4 years in developing a patent-protected and industry-tested NASA co-engineered braking solution. We address upcoming environmental regulations and in addition, add a 50%, or I should say subtract 50% reduction in brake assembly material, which reduces the overall weight and cost concerns facing many brake manufacturers today. Orbis Brakes brings to market a lighter, cooler, safer, greener, and smarter brake solution for passenger cars and class 1 through 8 trucks. Automakers today need transformative solutions that make electric vehicles lighter so they can go further, in addition to reducing the precious metals that go into car manufacturing. Testing has shown that Orbis brakes stay on average 90 degrees Celsius cooler than any other brake, which means less brake dust and particulate matter polluting our lungs and our waterways. And although we are lighter, we maintain our braking force. Regulations for brake dust and non-exhaust emissions are quickly becoming a reality, especially here where we are in California, in addition to Europe and India. The EU will require only 7 milligrams of particulate matter per kilometer to be emitted in the coming years. Orbis Brakes is already meeting these upcoming regulatory requirements. We have a patent pending on a brake manufacturing innovation that halves the raw material input and doubles the output, which will equate to huge cost savings and a lift in gross margin for any OEM. This is EcoWave. EcoWave is our environmentally driven, consumer-priced, state-of-the-art centerless rotor. It has a 50% smaller pad and caliper and uses 50% less raw materials, which equates to 50% less brake dust emissions. EcoWave is optimized for keeping the temperature low and emissions at bay by being lighter weight and cooler at the same time. Meeting environmental regulations, as I have said before, is the core of what Orbis Brakes is doing. Orbis Brakes meets the Euro 7 regulations on brake dust, which California will also be implementing. The state will eventually deploy fleets of zero and near zero emission trucks and buses. Even in the last month, we at Orbis have had an increasing number of conversations with potential tier 1s and OEMs that are well aware and seeking solutions to these brake dust problems. Bear in mind that our overarching corporate and engineering operating objective is to reduce particulate emissions to the 7 milligrams or less per kilometer as measured in the following testing validation slide. Here you can see our testing results against the Brembo brake on a Shelby Mustang GT500, which is the leading brake in the country. Although the typical car doesn't pay attention to temperatures or weights, but rather stopping distance and brake fade, the car buyer places their trust in OEMs to facilitate the appropriate level of safety equipment and therefore assume that a vehicle's stopping distance and fade are technologically sufficient. We have invested many resources in our testing processes. We do extensive testing on both dynamometers and via CFD engineering software, as well as subjective testing that we have done on a Tesla Plaid and currently with a customer that has certified our brakes on a Class 2 delivery vehicle. We are converting energy into stopping power and doing it much cooler and lighter weight at the same time. We like to use a quote by Brad Coleman that states, "The environmentally friendly car is the one you are already driving." There are many upsides to cars with Orbis brakes on them. They are 50% lighter. They are 40% cooler. They use 50% less raw materials in the manufacturing process. And we have deep testing and approvals that have been vetted by preeminent testing facilities. Here you can see how our EcoWave Orbis brake compares with a more expensive and quite heavy racing brake and a well-known Brembo on the Shelby GT. Not just in cost do we come out ahead, but again, here you can see that we're actually 190 degrees Celsius cooler than the racing brake, while being the same weight, and 90 degrees Celsius cooler than the Brembo, while being 5 kilograms lighter. Our come-to-market strategy is that we have 3 years in research and development, and we are confident that the technology is ready to go to market as seen in the conversations we are currently having. The technology utilizes manufacturing processes and materials that are well understood and proven, and proven for high volume and OEM level scale. Our two routes to business are an aftermarket replacement manufacturing strategy, where we collaborate with tier ones to bring cost savings and easy to install brakes to stores with existing infrastructures. Think Costco, Walmart, Goodyear, etc. And our licensing model is where tier ones and OEMs will license the Orbis brake technology and patents for their use. We are currently in a number of business discussions with several well-known OEMs who are interested in proceeding with this model. I should note that we can serve the entire passenger car through light-duty truck and van market with just 6 sizes of rotors and 4 caliper sizes, which will significantly streamline production and material needs. With these just 6 SKUs, we can make eco waves for everything from the Mustang Shelby GT to a Ram ProMaster. Keys to success for Orbis will be finding the right strategic partners and addressing getting placement in the replacement and licensing markets, and hitting our financial goals to show a 590% ROI. As key to any startup and technology company, patents and IP have to be very strong and in place. We definitely have that here at Orbis. We own the core IP via issued utility patents and pending patents. We have NASA's contribution on a cooling aid that is, while augmentative, is fundamentally valuable when used in concert with our Orbis IP. And we have addressed many IP issues and applications where lightweight brakes may be needed, from racing cars and aviation to RVs. Our team is strong and varied. We know what it takes to be a startup, and we know what it takes to know the technology and the marketplace. So the business understanding and the support we need, we feel, is very in place. Financially, like any early stage business, we are seeking capital to come to market and ensure our customers meet all of the regulations that we have set forth. Today, we are fundraising and doing many beta test evaluation systems for potential tier ones and OEMs. So our sales for 2023 are on track with a 5-year projection of $116 million in sales. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to answering all of your questions, and it's been a pleasure working with GAMIC.
Thank you so much, Chance. Moving away from brake systems, and we will come back and pick up the questions in a minute. We're staying more in the material science field, but we are going up a little bit the value stream in a completely different field with Volexion. And therefore, I call Damien Supino on the stage to present their current status and progress of Volexion. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Is my screen visible? Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, thank you for the opportunity, and glad to be here today. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about Volexion. We are an advanced materials company based in Chicago, actually Evanston, Illinois, because we're a Northwestern University startup. And what we do is we commercialize our graphene encapsulation technology, particularly with the goal of improving and enabling battery materials, particularly cathode materials for next generation electric vehicles. So you know, in terms of context, it's pretty clear now for everybody that the automotive industry is moving towards electrification. However, in order to be able to deliver on that promise at scale, there's a number of challenges that the industry as a whole needs to solve. And that comes in 4 flavors. That's about reducing the cost of electric vehicles, improving the performance and durability of batteries, improving the safety of lithium-ion batteries. And finally, there's a 4th emerging concern that the industry is focusing on, and that's the availability of natural resources, particularly metals, that are going to be required to make all these batteries and enable the electrification of transportation. So the challenge is not small, and there's going to need to be there's going to be a need of innovation across the components and the value chain for electric vehicles batteries. And taking a step back and looking back at what has happened in the startup innovation landscape over the past 10 years, there's been a wealth of innovation happening on the anode and the electrolyte, which are 2 of the important components of lithium-ion batteries. There's been significant focus on manufacturing and design of lithium-ion battery cells and pack. However, when you look at the cathode, which is unarguably the single largest cost component of a lithium-ion battery, representing 25 to 50% of the cost of a cell, and being the limiting factor and the primary driver of performance of lithium-ion batteries. Fewer than 5% of startups over the past 10 years have focused on this component, because it's a component that's relatively difficult to innovate on. And because that's our current focus, that puts our technology in an innovation white space, essentially, with significant market upside. So on this page, and looking at the top right SEM picture, so the little meatball structure that we see on that picture is a particle of NCA, nickel, cobalt, aluminum. So that's one of the chemistries that is used in electric vehicle batteries these days. For example, that's the Tesla Panasonic chemistry that was used originally in the Model S. And at Volexion, while we don't manufacture the polycrystalline particles / meatball, what we make is the hazy cocoon that you can see around the particle. And if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you can see that this cocoon is made of few atomic layers of carbon, so of graphene, that we conformally encapsulate around the particle using proprietary technology. So the end result of us applying that technology to lithium-ion cathode particle is that in one pass, we provide a continuous layer of graphene around cathode materials that have the property of letting the lithium ion flow in and out of the cathode particle, which is not an easy property to realize, while essentially creating this chemically insulating barrier between the cathode material, which is the gray sphere here, and the outside environment of a lithium-ion battery, which is the electrolyte. So concurrently, we provide a chemically neutral, isolating surface from a chemical stability standpoint, while bringing along the electrical and thermal conductivity benefit of the graphene. So in terms of value proposition and what the value that we bring to the battery industry and the automotive industry is two-pronged. One is better stability of lithium-ion cathode materials, and 2 is better conductivity. What that translates into in terms of ultimate performance and benefit to the end user, when you look at the stability, which is represented by the white circles on the left of this page, so it's better safety for batteries and the ability to operate it at higher temperature, thanks to the protective nature and the containing nature of our coating. 2, it's significant improvement in cycle life. We routinely demonstrate 2 to 3 times improvement in cycle life compared to a similar battery made without our technology. And 3, it's the ability to operate your battery at a higher voltage, which allows you automatically to pack 15 to 30% more energy in your battery without having to make any other changes. On the conductivity side, what our technology enables is higher power density, the ability to enable fast charging for electric vehicle, the ability to reduce inactive materials, which also contributes to enable increasing the energy density. And finally, we also provide better performance at low temperature by increasing the range that's available for electric vehicles at low temperature. With that being said, what makes our technology interesting is not only the superior performance improvement that we provide, but it's also the fact that it's a relatively simple and clever technology, and that relies in our manufacturing process and overall approach. So our process to apply this to conformally encapsulate the particles with graphene, it's a 2.5-step process that starts with making graphene with our proprietary technology. And we use a specific class of additives and protected additives that enable greater productivity of the graphene. Two, in the encapsulation process, our additives also allow and maintain the graphene dispersed from each other so that they preferably interact with the surface of the cathode material as opposed to restacking and reaggregating. And this what I call the step 2B in this process, and that's the secret sauce of Volexion, is we have a final curing step during which this class of additives not only get removed from the coating, but they actually get converted to graphene, which allows for a full consolidation of the coating and better presence of graphene. So this very simple approach makes our product and our process very scalable and deployable in a modular fashion. And we'll talk about the business model in a few minutes. Another advantage is that we take directly a cathode material made by a cathode material manufacturer, and what comes out of our process is a powder that looks and feels exactly the same as what came in, which makes our technology fully drop-in and directly usable by battery manufacturers without having to make any changes in their production line. It's also a platform technology, so there's a lot of talk in the battery industry about which chemistry is going to win. Our understanding at Volexion is that at the end of the day, it's going to be a portfolio approach, and there's going to be a variety of chemistries that need to be enabled, ranging from nickel-rich, manganese-rich, or iron-rich, and our technology provides benefits on all these chemistries. Another advantage is that our tech is bio-based, so the source of carbon, the solvents that we use, all of that can be bio-based and does not introduce any new hazard in the supply chain. In terms of, so we talked a little bit about the cost. I wanted to deep dive a little bit on that. So obviously we need to add something to the battery, which adds cost, which we estimate adds about 1% to the cost of the battery. At the scale of an electric vehicle, that represents about $50. But with all the benefits that we provide, we project that we can save up to 30% cost at the scale of a lithium-ion battery pack. So it's a trade-off of a $50 added cost to a $2,000 saving, which makes our value proposition pretty attractive for the industry. Our competitive advantage is it relies on the strength of our technology and our approach, because from a product performance standpoint, we concurrently bring the protection and conductivity benefit to lithium-ion battery material, which our competitors do not. And on the manufacturing side, which is the horizontal scale, we do have a solution that is highly scalable and very easy to integrate within the lithium-ion supply chain. In terms of business model and go-to-market and traction, so our focus is on making a proprietary graphene precursor and providing encapsulation services to three classes of industry partners. That's cathode material suppliers, so these are big chemical companies, battery manufacturers or cell suppliers, and finally OEMs, such as the ones that we all know about. Our goal is to validate our approach through partnership with these three classes of players, and GAMIC has been very helpful in helping us establish some new conversations. Even though we are a seed stage company, we have generated pretty strong interest in the industry, And right now we're having 6 evaluation in progress with players across these 3 categories. And we have, as I was mentioning, generated multiple additional early conversations thanks to GAMIC traction. The reason why we want to take this, the reason why we can take this route of engaging with industry partners is because we also have a strong IP portfolio. So our technology is fully protected, and we have the exclusive license from Northwestern University on 3 patent families across 5 geographies. So we have a strong advantage here as well.
I almost say thank you, Damien.
Yeah,
I see there's a lot to talk about, but I would like to kind of come a little bit into the question field. And I'm pretty sure everybody on the call who's has follow-up questions can also contact you directly. But for a little kind of going back to what was shown, I would like to ask Chance back on this virtual stage, and because we have the one or other question. And maybe I can start with the reliability question. And I think reliability and durability is important for brakes. It's important for batteries. So when we really compare conventional disc brakes and know the new brake concept, what is the impact on like the life cycle, lifetime of one, let's say, brake assembly? And because I will then come back to Damien, because he also used 3 times, I think it's a cycle life, and maybe he has to explain a little bit more what that means. But let's start with the brake side first. Have you done some analysis in terms of durability, and can you compare that to, let's say, a similar brake assembly with a conventional disc brake?
So durability is a question that we do get obviously asked often, and it's a very important part of what we're doing. A lot of it comes down to, how the car is driven, and a lot of experimentation with different brake pads. I think Marcus, who is our CTO, can speak more to the testing that we've done.
Like rough ratio, number, rate. What do you, in comparison to the same like size of disc brake assembly? How much percentage do you increase the lifetime?
Yeah, I would say that we don't have all the data, frankly, that we would like to have at this point for long-term durability analysis. But as Chance mentioned in her opening, we are working with a multiplicity of partners, including commercial vehicle and fleet operators who are notoriously hard on brakes. And what we've seen so far to date through the lens of our third-party adopters is cooler temperatures, as Chance presented, equate directly to longer life and less pad wear. So we're optimistic that we're going to be able to, someday in our future have some kind of guarantee that isn't lifetime, certainly, but will be substantially greater than conventional pad brake offerings. When you don't have fade, the brakes last a really long time, and so do the pads. So that's really the most exciting aspect of what we're doing. We've been engineering to control for temperature. EcoWave, as the trade name implies, is all about keeping the temperature below this really important threshold, which is 180 degrees Celsius, which studies show at above 180, a 10,000-fold plume of nanoparticulate essentially emanates from brakes. So we've got to keep those temperatures below 180 C. And ironically and paradoxically, I guess, EVs are actually taxing their brakes at higher temperatures, as we know, on plaid and others. So we've put brakes on plaids, on race cars, on trucks, and we'll just keep working with our customers to put the technology through these extreme use cases. And then at some point, we'll have a guarantee for some period of time greater than our competitors, which ultimately is what the market will need.
Yeah, I think a good approach also here maybe for the community. If any of you have access to a few brake assembly test benches, that's maybe a reason to reach out and to offer your, if you don't have full utilization of your test bench, I think Orbis Brakes would be happy to increase your utilization rate. Damien, as we have already seen, Orbis Brakes is trying, is increasing durability by reducing nanoparticles. You are using nanoparticles to increase capabilities of batteries. So you use the terminology of cycle life, tripled the cycle life. So how does this really relate to durability, or let's say end of first life capability of the battery?
Yeah, it's actually a critical parameter. The way the battery industry measures the end of life of a battery cell is when it reaches, so let's say you can put 100% energy and you get that at your first cycle. So the first time you discharge it, what we call a cycle is charging and discharging the battery. As you use your vehicle, you have to charge it and then you use your battery. So you go through this charging and discharging cycle. And so once a battery reaches 80% of its initial capacity, then it's considered that it has reached its end of life. And at that point, you either need to find a way to get a second use of your second use for your battery. So there's strategies that can be done to use EV batteries in energy storage for the grid. For example, there's a lot of complex business models that are being developed around that. Or you can recycle it. But at the end of the day, it remains a major operation for an electric vehicle. If you have to take out the battery, which is typically pretty well integrated with the chassis, and so that's a major maintenance operation that is very costly. So that's why cycle life, which is the equivalent for batteries of durability, is a critical parameter from a warranty standpoint for the OEMs, essentially.
Thank you for explaining that, Damien.
Yeah.
I think that was very helpful for everybody who's not in the battery space full-time, very helpful. Damien and Chance, thank you. We will see each other later at the end of the session, but now we want to move forward. We had two exciting startup technologies, both related to advanced materials and structures, and now we're moving in a more communication and software space with the cybersecurity startup Vultara, and therefore I would like to invite Yuanbo on stage to give us an update of what happened after the 2023 GAMIC finals and what is the path forward for Vultara.
Thank you, Fabian. Okay, my name is Yuanbo, I'm founder and CEO of Vultara. So before I get into what we do, I want to clear out the house by explaining one concept. When we talk about cybersecurity, most people understand it by the firewalls and encryptions. So all these firewall encryption, we cybersecurity professionals, we call them controls. Okay, so when as a security engineer, when you look at these, there are thousands of security controls out there, just like you're looking at right now. And if you are a security engineer trying to design a secure system for your car, how do you pick the right combination of these controls and put them into different products in your cars? And there are different ways of doing it. For example, over design, just choose more than you need. Trial and error, try something first. If it doesn't work, hopefully that you have time to change them, or follow the buzzword of the time. For example, intrusion detection system, IDS, was really popular a couple of years ago. Everybody was talking about them, trying to use them. But another question, more difficult question probably, is after a couple of years, how do you know the original control you chose are still effective? So let me tell you how the industry deals with this kind of problem today. The first step is a security engineer will organize a meeting and start drawing different kind of architectures on a whiteboard. And you call, as a security engineer, you call the domain experts from different teams together, sit in a room and begin brainstorming what could go wrong. And someone will take notes, noting down all the potential threats, what are the risks for them, and all into a Excel spreadsheet. This process has to happen not only once, but multiple times throughout the product development cycle. For example, in the identify phase, you have to do that for the threat analysis and risk assessment, or short for TARA. And then when you start developing controls to find the suitable controls, you have to do it again. And then in the detect phase, you have to do that continuously, maybe it's annually, maybe it's every 6 months, to monitor your product and review your design, even after your product or car is launched. So now you know how difficult it is to scale the Excel spreadsheet approach. And following that manual process is costly. It costs about $85,000 per project per year. And not following it is not even an option. The newly released United Nations regulation mandated following it, and also the ISO standard, which was released a few years ago, specifying that you have to do this kind of process or deliver this kind of risk assessment continuously. So there are existing players in the cybersecurity industry trying to come into this area. For example, the IT security domain, there are tools, threat modeling tools, trying to get into automotive, but they lacked understanding of automotive industry, such as the work product required by ISO 21434 standard and automotive specific threat libraries, and also the complex automotive engineering process. Another kind of competitors we have is the existing functional safety design tools. They also trying to reach the market. They understand automotive engineering well because they've been in there for long, but their product capability is limited by the automation engine, which was originally developed for the safety analysis. So most of them are still trying to enhance the Excel spreadsheet experience, meaning you still have, as a user, you still have to type in, if not all, most of the words into the tool. As a result, today, most of these kind of security analysis are still done manually by third-party vendors rather than in the automotive companies themselves. So here's our solution. Vultara revolutionizes the security design experience into a circuit simulation type of work. So you drag and drop components, put them into architecture, and just click run. The tool automatically generate the threats and the risks about all the threats. If you want to quantify the risks, it reduced the number of a 2-month work into 2 days, and also save you 70% of budget in the monitoring phase. Our moats has a long-term immediate tactic and a long-term tactic. Today, we're the only provider who can cover the entire life cycle, while our competitors usually cover one or a few areas. And our patents are filed in US and Europe. Long term, we have all our customers are enterprise customers who have high switching cost, and we have a data analytics function that actually uses our customers' own data to predict their future behavior. Such kind of data-driven features are impossible to imitate easily without years of data accumulation for that customer. We're starting off in automotive industry because of the new regulations and the standards come with it. From there, we're going to move into the high safety critical and the heavily regulated industries, and then eventually we want to cover the entire IoT manufacturers. And here's our team. Our team are composed of cybersecurity experts and automotive veterans. We have deep roots in automotive engineering and Michigan. Thank you for your time. We are Vultara.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Yuanbo. We'll talk in a minute and we'll have one or two questions. But now let's shift gears and go in the vision space of mobility. So I'm happy to get Michael Pickholz here on this virtual stage and get an update from MagWerks.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Pickholz. I'm the CEO and Chief Technical Officer of MagWerks Vision. welcome this opportunity to share with everybody about who we are and what we do. As indicated, we're an innovative mobility illumination technologies company, bringing new technologies to the particular to illumination field, with technologies that deliver twice the level of illumination of what's currently available, yet doing so with half the power consumption at half the weight. Light is the new chrome is a catchphrase that was introduced a few years back by the former head of design of the Volkswagen Group, Klaus Bischoff. And it illustrates how illuminated grills with animated light shows and welcome and departure features have become the new chrome, as the old statement would be, to delineate the luxury and modern vehicle design. This extends, for instance, to incorporating Swarovski crystals in high-end BMWs and other vehicles, illuminated grills on EVs, all in an effort to provide a modern design language to vehicles. Yet at the same time, there's an issue that lighting. Good headlights save lives. That is, that the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, referred to IIHS, has now established that good headlights save lives. For instance, this image is provided by them, are illustration of a perfectly legal yet poorly rated headlamp in which obstacles present on the road are not visible, and of course to the sides, while in the lower right-hand corner, you see the same situation with a headlamp rated as good, also perfectly legal, in which pedestrians, animals, as well as roadside obstacles are visible. This research has now established a direct relationship between good headlights and a 28% reduction in driver injury, as well as a 23% reduction in pedestrian injury. So lighting has become truly important as a safety element for everybody, whether you're driving or, of course, a bystander on the road. So with that, mobility has a lighting problem, the field we're addressing. And I would like to share a brief, amusing commercial, which dates back to 2017, titled "Last Chance to Drive" by Alfa Romeo, which I think you'll find, again, amusing.
Good morning, Eric.
Yes, good morning. Let's go.
What is your destination today, Eric?
Destination is work, just like every day. Go, start driving.
Would you prefer the standard way?
No, I'd prefer you take me through China.
China is 15,000 miles from here. Loading maps and alternative language.
No, abort!
A boarding trip to work. What is your destination today, Eric?
Please, I am begging you, just take me to work.
Engaging climate control system.
No, enough with the climate control. Just drive.
Sensing nerves level rising. Activating relaxation music.
No, I just want to drive.
It might be your last chance to drive on Full.
So hopefully this commercial illustrates the outlook in 2017, only 6 years ago, were predicting a future that by 2025, driverless vehicle will be commonplace, and therefore headlights will obviously become somewhat redundant, just whatever is required to meet legal regulations. As a result of that, there has been a massive exit of small lighting companies, as illustrated in this slide, for Europe, as well as the following slide for more United States, which with a future without headlamps, there was no point in those companies, small companies, staying in business, in as much as they didn't have the resources to implement all the sensors and computer software and electronics required to implement this vision of the future, which unfortunately has not materialized. And even now, major lighting companies such as Hella and Koark are being acquired by companies moving towards illuminated lighting features as shown in prior slide. So by mobility, who we're talking about? We're talking about everything else that's not a mainstream automotive supplier, whether it be the military, e-bikes, ATVs, agriculture, industrial, last mile delivery, motorcycles, etc. So the issue with there's still very good lights out there, and particularly found on premium vehicles. The problem with those technologies that they're extremely complex, as I can illustrate here with a digital light projection module on a Mercedes S-Class. Just this one component is complex, costly, heavy, bulky, and also, unfortunately, introduces high power consumption, which in EVs is a problem. The smaller the EV, the bigger the problem. And this also translates to mainstream products such as this snowplow headlight, utilizing this pattern drawing to illustrate how there is actually 10 different individual LED modules just to create this high-low beam, which can be found in for all of us that live in states which have snow in the winter. Once again, high cost, heavy, bulky, high power consumption, and unfortunately, rather poor levels of illumination. So once again, what do we bring to market? A new way of doing headlamps, for instance, and other lamps, introducing, once again, double the level of illumination at half the weight and half the power consumption. How do we do so? Introducing our proprietary technologies such as Thixomolded magnesium housings. Thixomolding is a process by which you injection mold magnesium, so metal as opposed to plastic, highly conductive, also 100% recyclable, which is another attribute of our technologies, that we are the only eco-friendly lighting company that we know of. And secondly, our newer technologies, which is the employing optical silicon to construct our lenses and part of our lamp housing. So therefore, with only three major components, as opposed to many more, we can create complete lighting systems, perfectly suitable, particularly suitable to EVs and other such applications. So one specific example, an upcoming program of ours, the Aptera, in which, because it's a motorcycle, as defined by US regulations, being only has 3 wheels, therefore classified under the motorcycle area, our headlamp, our single headlamp, delivers over twice the level of illumination than 2 conventional lamps, with actual room for even better, to be totally candid. So these slides here that I'm about to show are virtual reality slides of dynamic ANSYS AV Accelerator software, which is what the major OEMs utilize to upfront simulate and validate future lighting designs. So in this particular cityscape, you can see 2 barely visible pedestrians. Well, when we switch to MagWerks, perfectly legal headlamp, much higher levels of illumination. Moving this to a rural setting, same thing. There's a pedestrian that is hardly visible at all. But when we employ our headlamps, not only the pedestrian becomes visible, but also far better illumination to the leading into the turn without any mechanical assist. That is, our lamps deliver far better illumination laterally than headlamps, which even have motors in them. So our market traction, I mentioned Aptera, other areas are, for instance, military applications. And then we have a current list of customers, active discussions with a number of other companies, as well as multiple targeted customers. So the market growth opportunities are very high in a market which now only has less than a handful of suppliers, whether it be here as well as in Europe. We're protected. We're proud of we have a very extensive patent portfolio. On the left, you can see the Thixomolded technology I mentioned earlier. Another area which is to take advantage of the mechanical properties of magnesium, for instance, to make mechanical integration of lighting and the vehicle. And lastly, our optical optical silicon lens patent applications, which in the last 2 weeks, we have received notification from the U.S. Patent Office that 2 of our applications have now been granted, and they will be issued within the next 6 weeks or so. So, in a nutshell, our business is divided into custom designs. We design and sell off-the-shelf products that we'll be introducing here shortly, and as well as the eventual licensing of our IP. With that, I conclude this short presentation illustrating our team of which together has over 100 years of specific automotive lighting expertise at the automotive tier 1 level. Now taking that know-how into the mobility and EV marketplace. And with that, I thank you and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Michael. A great presentation. Let's welcome all the speakers back on this virtual stage. And let's have a short discussion about when it comes to regulation, big corporations tend to slow it down or avoid further regulation, but we see more and more that sometimes regulation is necessary, and sometimes regulation even is accelerating innovation. So coming back to you, Michael, how important are a transparent regulation framework to say, okay, there will be an opportunity for innovation? You talked about the testing and certification by the Highway Insurance Association. So how important is this to you?
Well, to us is extremely important, because what has happened is, again, 6 years ago, forecast that lighting would not be necessary when the vehicles will be driven by sensors, and that reality has not manifested itself, and it's not even close to happening anytime soon. So all of a sudden, in a parallel manner, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, IHS, began to push the Top Safety Pick Plus, as most people may hear about, rating, in which they are forcing. They're not the government. They're not regulators. They have the power of the purse and the power of, let's say, give somebody a black eye for poor lighting, and therefore they have been pressuring the automotive companies to improve the performance of headlights. And now with this established physical correlation between good lights and road safety for both drivers as occupants, and of course pedestrians and cyclists and everybody else that's using the roads, is becoming extremely important.
Thank you,
it protects all of us.
Absolutely. Well, Yuanbo, you already mentioned in your presentation a few existing cybersecurity regulations and standards. But looking into the future, what do you observe? What is missing? What in maybe the other industries that you already mentioned? Is there a future development that you kind of already tracked down to see, oh, there might be a new regulation coming out where there will be a new market for your cybersecurity analysis and design tool?
Yeah, definitely. So our immediate adjacent standard is IEC 62443, which is widely applicable in the like heavy machinery equipment manufacturers, industrial controls, a lot of other like also oil and gas, I believe, all those high safety critical IoT manufacturers. And in terms of regulations, the next one we're pursuing is most likely CRA, a Cyber Resilience Act, which is huge in Europe right now, that address all IoT sectors, or all sectors that has a cyber element but does not have a sectoral regulation. So that basically covers all the non-medical device automotive areas.
Thank you. That is, I will keep that in mind. And we are coming to the end of our lunch session, so we just do a short round of what is the easiest way to get in contact with you? Chance, you might want to start with this one.
Hi. The easiest way to get in contact is to go to our orbisbrakes.com website. We have actual real phone numbers there, and soon you will see a rebranding that is taking place, happening. So be sure to check us out, because we're going to have some really interesting and more concise information for you.
Looking forward to it. Damien, in person,
Yeah,
the next event, or over the internet, LinkedIn, website?
So I think the easiest in the short term, because now it's summertime and the events have slowed down a little bit, is to go to our website, which is Volexion-inc.com, and yeah, drop us a note. I'm gonna type it in the chat. And we'll be in Detroit. We'll be in Detroit in the fall. There's the battery show there.
At the battery show. See you there.
Mm-hmm.
Michael.
Likewise, our website, magworksvision.com. We're also on LinkedIn, email, whatever. Also take phone calls if somebody wishes to do so.
Perfect. And what's the next event that Vultara will maybe attend to accelerate their technology?
Yeah, we'll be at pretty much all automotive cybersecurity events you can think of. We either have a booth or we have participants. And our if you look at our website, you can reach out at info@vultara.com. And also I'm in Troy, Michigan. So anyone from locally, would love to meet you for lunch.
Perfect. You will reach GAMIC, the GAMIC organization, over at gamicevent.org. Now is my time to thank the SAE Detroit Section staff for supporting and hosting this event, and for the whole marketing. And I hope everybody has a fantastic week, and hope to see you all soon at the one or other event. Keep innovative. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.